Excited that we do have the CEO from SenesTech up here. Would love to dive right into an update since the last time we got to speak with you.
Hi. Yeah, thank you. Always a pleasure to be on with you guys. We've had since we talked last about a month ago, I guess it was. We've had a lot of great things that have happened. We've attended some great trade shows that have sparked a lot of interest in our rodent birth control products. We're preparing to ship product to some major municipalities, Chicago area, as well as New York City. And we've put on another three international distributors. So we're really setting the stage for future growth.
All right, sounds good. So, Emps, did you want to say something?
I was just going to mention I did post a couple of your, or I pinned a couple of your posts, Ben, up top. So a nice link to an interview video there, and a nice thread that you put out around SenesTech. This is really interesting, and I do want to give Tom a chance to introduce himself. But basically, the approach of SenesTech to fight rodent control through fertility control. Tom, I would love for you to jump in and introduce yourself briefly, and then we can dive a little bit deeper into the convo.
Sure. This is Tom Chesterman. I'm the CFO. So I'm kind of the backup for Joel if anything gets a little too financial there. But glad to be on the show. Thank you.
Yeah, great to have you up here, Tom. All right, I would love to hear just a quick update from this last earnings report since we last spoke. I guess it's been right at just over a month ago, and then we had the earnings come out. So I would love to get any updates there from you guys, and then after that, if Ben or any of the rest of the panel want to jump in with some questions, would love to have an open dialogue.
Well, yeah, this is Joel. When we released our earnings, it really was I would say, a transformational year for SenesTech. Our quarterly revenues for the fourth quarter were up 70% year over year. And probably the one thing that we're really excited about is that our quarterly gross margins were over 61%. Historically, we've been in the mid to upper 40s on gross margins, so we could see the impact that our evolved products are making in not only increasing revenues, but also increasing the gross margins that we have, and we expect those to continue. Um, Tom, you want to talk about the initiatives that we have?
Sure. I think you. I'd be glad to. One of the things that we've been working on, and this has been more long term, is really to optimize our cost structure and to, as we transition more from doing basic research, which is what we were doing when we first started out. Our cash burn was in the $10 million per annum year area. We've really worked as hard as we can to bring that down gradually over time. But we just announced that we have another set of optimization techniques where we're actually now moving from the 1.5 million per quarter cash burn that we've had in the past to something a lot closer to 1 million per quarter. So substantially increasing our efficiency and also accelerating our ability to get to break even as fast as possible.
Great, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's like so. Let's back up a little bit. Big picture, small caps. Right, you're on the small cap show here. A lot of people interested in small caps, micro caps, and the reason they're interested in these companies is because there's huge potential upside if a small company can basically turn around to profitability. That's the inflection point that really can cause massive re-ratings in these companies because a lot of small companies and micro caps, their valuation gets really punished in public markets because of the expectation that they'll just need to keep raising money in the future, right? And there's going to be dilution, and when you're publicly traded and you need to raise money, there's a lot of sharks out there that can really hit you hard. So for that reason, there's a lot of quote unquote undervalued micro caps and small caps out there in the market, and our job is to find those companies that are on the inflection to profitability. And if and when your company turns around to profitability and says, now we can guide to profitability, or we are profitable, whatever it is, and we don't need to have any more bad raises, so to speak, or you know um, then that's the inflection where you can see small companies like yourselves be 5, 10, 15 baggers. So, that's my interest here. Is it looks like the total addressable market here is huge compared to your market cap, and it looks like you guys are close to getting to profitability. So the potential here for this company to be a 5 or 10 bagger certainly is there. So let's dig into how we get there. You just alluded to, you just said your burn rate's down to $1 million a quarter. So you guys would just, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but you just need to increase your quarterly revenue by $1 million a quarter to get to profitability. So I'll just pause there and let you guys expand on that a little bit, and then we'll dig a little deeper.
Yeah, I'll start. It's our quarterly revenues. When we before we put these initiatives in place and reducing our cash burn, we expected that the revenues in order to get to break even were 11 to 12 million dollars. By doing these initiatives to lower the burn rate, now we think that we're in the $6.5 to $7 million revenue area in order to get to break even. And just looking at our business model and what we're forecasting, we think that is that very doable in 2026. Now, having said that, if we do have some of these big spikes in revenue, which we have a lot of those options out there, international, when we get being a registered product, when we get our registrations and approvals in certain countries, they're looking at ordering hundreds of thousands of dollars in containers. So that's a big spike. Things like New York City, they're going to start using our product. And of course, everyone knows about the rat issues in New York City. So when we look at, okay, they're going to start doing a pilot program, that could ramp up rapidly if they have good results, which we're expecting the good results. And then, of course, then on the retail side, so we're in contact with all the major retailers about getting our product on their shelves. And one of those that would give us a big order could really change the revenue scenario for the company, as well as being on Amazon. We're really starting to see our sales over the last quarter really start to ramp up on Amazon. So there's we have our plans, and then we think that when you look at any of these certain channels, that there's some potentially some big upside in each of those that will really impact the company's revenue.
Okay, yeah, great. That's very, very intriguing for me. Just full disclosure, I do own some shares here. Uh, Hopefully, it'll make that inflection this year. Um, a lot of optionality upside there, whether it's the New York City program or Chicago, Baltimore, international e-commerce. The e-commerce is really interesting. You're in a lot of places now. You mentioned Amazon. Um, I think Tractor and Supply and some of the Ace
Walmart,
Hardware,
Walmart.
Walmart, right? So I'm getting a lot of feedback from our community and in our Discord and also on X. Some really positive feedback on your product. In fact, someone sent this over yesterday in our Discord. On Amazon, you have 56 reviews, 70% being 5 star, 19% being 4 star. I've only heard good things about your product, whether it's from research folks have done in our community or whether it's on social media. Um, are you seeing any early signs of traction on the e-commerce, and how do you take advantage of that, right? If you are seeing signs of that, do you have the capacity with the capital you have on hand now to kind of take advantage of that and accelerate your path to profitability throughout the balance of the year?
We really do, and it's interesting. We were on Amazon. We got on Amazon in July of 24, and being a 25B exemption product, there was there was a learning curve there as far as what are the keywords you can say and what you can't say, and so really we got that in kicking into high gear about September, early October. And from there, you can start to really see where sales started to grow. Now, the big thing with e-commerce naturally is, okay, what's your search engine optimization? So we're working with a company that is very experienced in Amazon and getting the right search engine optimization words, keywords on there, and then how do we refine those and still stay within the parameters that they set for us, being a regulated product. But you can start to see that there's some good traction, some good growth, and we've got a plan in place to really increase that. And same with Walmart. We've only been on Walmart now for 60 days, I believe it is. Tractor Supply just in the last 30. And our focus has been, okay, now that we're on there, is how do people get to know that we're on there? And that is a specific plan on how are you going to use some of the ad possibilities that they have there, as well as when somebody searches, what's your search engine optimization doing for you? And we've learned a lot. They have a lot of experience in it, and we're really just ready to start ramping that up.
I know one of my colleagues also another opportunity is usage on farms. I assume, well, I would imagine maybe people on Amazon they may also, be small farms. I guess maybe some of the larger farms would buy direct from you. I'm not sure how that works, but the reason I'm asking about farms is I heard from people that maybe it was my colleague Rhett who said that the farming community is very small and tight knit, and everyone knows each other. Is that true? Is it a possibility to kind of virally grow within that farming community? And what are you guys kind of doing to, for in terms of outreach to that community?
Absolutely. The farming community is very tight knit. There's a lot of word of mouth, a lot of referrals. With our product, one of the initial places that we had success is California. Uh, Huge agriculture state, the largest one. When we started to launch the product, they were looking for products because they're really starting to regulate out a lot of the lethal products, the poison products. You see glue boards that'll come behind, and this is the thing that in the agriculture sector that's a huge opportunity for us is they really see the economic damage that rodents do. They destroy crops, they eat eggs, they eat chickens, right? So poultry houses, egg production. In addition to in California, one of the initial users were the almond groves, and rats cause huge damage to almond producers, and so they're actually using our product not only to control the population, but as an attractant away from the almond trees. So we've learned a lot about this and have developed a few different systems that can help them do that and how to deploy it, where to deploy it. And now we're starting to see some really significant interest from their competitors, the ones who are using it, their competitors, but they share a lot of information. It's almost like the microbreweries do, right? That they they find something that works and they share it with each other, and that's what they're doing. So agriculture, if you look at sugarcane production, so we're doing a major field study. We're about 8 months into it at one of the leading sugarcane producers in the world. They actually will write off 10 to 15 million dollars in damage annually just on a couple of their acreages um, from rodent damage. And so we're doing the field trial right in the midst of it, and we're having great results. We're experiencing 100% consumption, and that's where you know you have something. It's like, well, they have to consume it, so you put the product out, and then you check it every couple days or every week, and you see if you have consumption. And if you go to our website, SenesTech.com, and on social media, you can see some of the videos of the rats that are sitting on top of these stations, just eating Evolve for minutes, right? And so when you look at that, so you have sugarcane, grain management, huge losses each year from not only consumption by rodents, but contamination by rodents. And then not to mention the poultry houses and the egg production houses. So there are a lot of different end uses within agriculture that would have really significant impact on our business as they start to adapt it across their many fields or there are many poultry houses, and that's really exciting.
Okay, I do have one more final question for myself, and then if anyone from the panel, you can raise your hand or just butt in, and then just unmute yourself if you want at any time. And I got a whole bunch of other questions, maybe we'll get to or not, that some people from our community sent in. But one thing, just kind of wrap this opportunity up from my perspective, right? This to me, this is a race between, can you get to profitability before you need to dilute again, right? So far, based on your official guidance, not quite, but almost, right? Almost there. If you get any optionality upside this year from all of these sources, whether it's the e-commerce picking up or the farming picking up, or New York pilot program, Chicago, Baltimore. I just want to make sure I have that right in terms of this competition between, you know, because retail. Let me tell you why I asked. There's actually someone I spoke to who's a large shareholder in your company, and he wants to buy more shares, but is hesitating right now. Is hesitating because of the recent warrant repricing that happened. So maybe if you can just speak to him directly, right? Tom, this is a question for you, right? How do we hopefully, with these initiatives or optionality upside, we avoid something like that in the future, which causes dilution? But what can you say to someone who loves your potential? They can see this really working, but they're worried about further dilution. What can you say to someone like that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because we just finished a financing, a warrant repricing, as you mentioned, and it doesn't look like much at first. We raised $1 million, but we put in place 1.5 million short-term warrants, and the advantage of short-term warrants are that the threshold for people to exercise them is much shorter. So there's another $4 million there that's within easy grasp. As long as we're performing and the stock is performing, that we see that as being a much less dilutive path to raising capital than, say, putting out an S1. We also have in place an ATM that's we've been utilizing. I think we raised $1 million under that. That's been going well too. That's also a very efficient way of raising cash. And then the final thing that's in there really is that we're now getting to the cusp where debt is accessible. Before, yes, we were using debt for things like capital expenditures, lease financing, things like that. But now we're beginning to get, I'm beginning to get the calls from bankers saying, well, your cash flow is looking pretty good. Maybe we might want to talk about a line of credit or some sort of instrument. So I think with all of these things, we have a strategy which gets us extremely close, if not over the line. As Joel mentioned, kind of the steady state says, we can see profitability next year, but any one or two of these spikes through these large contracts get us there, and that's really what we're focused on: is how do we grow the base, but also how do we invest in the big ticket possibilities that we have available to us.
Yeah. It seems like you're very close. That's just 1 million a quarter. It seems like any cattle, any big optionality, any of these optionalities you have can take you over the line pretty quickly. Wolf, you got a question, comment?
Yeah, oh, well, I kind of had a separate question. I would love to hear just the growth strategy, Joel. It seems like you have like a three-pronged looking approach here. You're getting into retail with a lot of retail locations. I've seen on the website where you guys are looking or have partnered with some pest control companies more on the like enterprise size, and then also we know well the New York contract with the city there. So what is that the three-pronged approach for growth? When and which would you say is maybe the strongest area you guys are focused on right now?
Well, we'll double that because what we did is about a year ago said, okay, how are we going to really make evolve known. And we came up with what we call our 6-channel strategy, right? So pest management has always been at the forefront, right? Pest control companies, in addition to the distributors that are within that pest management channel. So we've got a number of relationships there. They're stocking our product now. So we have that direct line into pest management, in addition to working with some of the larger companies on a direct basis. And then we also have that in agriculture. We've got now 9 different agriculture distributors set up that their sales reps call on places like Purdue Farms, right, and Tyson Chicken and Florida Crystals. So that's another channel. Then in addition, the direct sales. So we want to work directly with people like New York City and those like we're doing in some of the areas in the Chicagoland area, city of Los Angeles Zoo. So that really is a focus of ours as well. And then we've got our international distributor set up. And when you look at that, you say, okay, we give them exclusivity. In return, they stock product, and then they have annual minimums that they need to do. And so we're set up there. And then when you look at retail and e-commerce, our last two, e-commerce, we're set up there. We've got focus on it. We're really going to try some things here that will really set us apart in getting the search engine optimization going for us. And then in retail, we've got proposals into a lot of the brick and mortars. We just had a review with one of the major warehouse that we put in, I think, a really good proposal for them. So it's 3-prong. Well, it's really 6-prong, and we think that we have the right focus in each of these channels and the right partners that will not just accelerate when it happens, but really accelerate and then amplify it by having the partners in place.
Well, I love that answer. You doubled up on me there. I love that. We have about 3 minutes until the top of the hour. We do have a hard cutoff then. Kyle, saw your hand go up. Didn't know if you wanted to sneak a quick question in.
Yeah, it's a comment and a question. So Joel, I was just checking online like how much money these cities actually spend on rodents and rat care within the last year. Chicago spent nearly 15 million, New York 4 million, Baltimore over a million. I'm looking online like, and it seems like your solution is much better suited to actually tackle the issue. Is the opportunity really about 20 million a year? Like, kind of walk us through these cities. Like, what is the potential? And I know you're piloting, so like, how far along are those pilot programs as well?
Well, I love how you put it, so I'll borrow that. Attack is right. Our solution is the right way to attack this because all the major cities have been using poisons, lethal. They try to drown them, gas them, poison them for 50 years now. And it's still worse than it ever has been. That's why you're seeing it, because there's more focus on they're vectors of disease, right? Rats are, and they cause all kinds of damage. So our solution is perfect thing that you can then couple up some of the other solutions with. And that's bring your population way down. We always say 10 rats are easier to control than 100. 100 are easier to control than 1,000. Bring the population down. You can still use some of the other methods. So I'll answer your question like this. So I was explaining this in an interview a couple of weeks ago. So in New York City, they're going to do a 10-block area. Actually, they're going to do 2 10-block areas now. So if you would say that you put 5 bait stations with our product in per block, that typically a bait station for a block area, you $200 a year. So just say there's 5 bait stations, that's $1,000 per year for one city block. According to ChatGPT, who I always trust, do you know how many blocks there are in New York City? There's 120,000 blocks in New York City. So I'll leave it to you to do the math. Not saying that every block in New York City is going to use it, but you can see what the potential is, because right now we're at ground zero and they're going to start using it. And when we have success, they're going to expand it. Can't tell you where or how much, but I can tell you this, we're going to be there working side by side with them, because We know this is a solution that they need. And once they have this solution, they're not going to give it up because you're going to see the population go down, and then you can be much more effective with your other solutions.
Perfect timing on that answer as well. We were right at the top of the hour. It was a pleasure. It was an honor to have Tom and Joel come on from SenesTech. Make sure you check out senestech.com, SENES tech.com, and do a little bit more due diligence, dig into this company. I like the things that they're doing. Joel, Tom, thanks for coming on. Ben, thanks for co hosting and running the conversation today. We appreciate everyone that tuned in. We do have a hard cutoff right here because we have another
Just
space over on
Just a
Jordan's link. Do you go for it?
quick 15 seconds. There were about like 10 questions we couldn't get to, guys. A lot of interest in your company. Maybe we could, I don't know if we can email it to you and get back to us formally. Would that be okay, guys?
Yeah, just email it to us.
Absolutely.
All right.
We'd love to.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Tom and Joel, again for coming on from SenesTech and giving us an update there. We appreciate your time. We appreciate everyone that tuned in today, and we will catch you guys on the next space. And we look forward to maybe a continued chat with SenesTech in the future as well. Take care, everyone.